choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Sunshine today with a high of 88. Chance of showers and storms tonight with a low of 70. Maverick's Real Roast Beef is an East Metro treasure with the best roast beef sandwiches in the Twin Cities and so much more. Maverick's is located in Roseville on Lexington Avenue, 1 mile south of Highway 36. Visit their website at mavericksbeef.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting from Loring Park in Minneapolis at Twin Cities Pride. I am John Parker, your host, in not the studio with executive producer Jim Pounds.
Welcome to Pride, everyone.
Welcome to Pride. This is a special 2-hour edition of the Gaily Show coming to you from the tents of AM 950. 11 programs from the station are broadcasting live this weekend. You can find us in booths 407 and 408. We're right at the end of Yale Place. We've got a show for you today.
I think half the progressive people in Eden Prairie are here now.
Well, they better be.
Yeah.
And if you walk up to the table, actually, we will get you on the air and you can tell us what you are proud and feeling proudful about this year, or what you're angry about and want us to fix on in America right now. You are listening to the only daily LGBTQ progressive news and talk show in America. And we have a great show. Christopher Trudowski, whose debut novel Midnight at the Cinema Palace, will join us in about 20 minutes here. We also have Chris Bro, who will be joining us later in the hour, a Greater Minnesota organizer for Out Front Minnesota. We have, however, to kick it off, to thank some sponsors.
To say what?
Thank some sponsors.
Oh, sponsors. That's my job. We've got a whole bunch of sponsors of the booth, and I'm just going to give you their names, but I'm going to talk more about them later, but I'm just going to list them first. CauseCart, MELSA, which is actually a service agency for the Metropolitan Libraries, which is a really cool organization you should know about. No Place Like Home Real Estate, Twin Cities Gay Men's Chorus. They just had their big concert last weekend, and now they're selling season subscriptions. Nicolet's Macaron. John has a macaron here that he's going to eat on the air, if you can stand to listen to that. And he'll tell us his first reaction, because he hasn't had one before, first time. Minuteman Press, we want to thank them. We want to thank Maverick's Real Roast Beef. This is a sponsor of Greg Bakken's show, but we just both had a roast beef, and it was
so good.
Really good.
Thank you,
It
Maverick.
Travels very well.
We're going to be talking more about that sandwich later on.
Cup of Java, and I guess there's just the one macaron for you, but I might find one in the bag for myself.
Oh, I'm sorry. They're all mine.
It's all right. You're the host.
I want to share some festival highlights with folks. There are over 600 unique vendors to explore at Pride this year in Loring Park. There are actually stickers to identify vendors who are BIPOC, LGBTQ, or LGBTQ owned and operated. So you can look for those stickers as you're going around and looking at the tents and the vendors throughout Loring Park. Fun fact, this is the largest free Pride Festival in the world.
Important distinction.
Important distinction. The largest free Pride Festival in the world. And there is a small business tent, but I want to bring up the small business tent because I believe the last that I heard, about 80 to 85% of the vendors here at Twin Cities Pride are local small businesses.
I think
so there isn't that corporate feel of the New Yorks or the LAs.
Next door is a jewelry maker of some kind. So there's all kinds of individual
There's
artisans.
There's a tent here, speaking of like artisan, where you can create your own canvas bag. Like they give you a canvas bag and you can create the design on it. I want to go and find them later today or maybe tomorrow morning.
Wow.
But you should check out the small business tent because they are also it is a tent for folks who don't necessarily want to rent out or buy an entire tent for themselves. So there's a bunch of small businesses that are in that particular tent. So be sure to check that out. New this year is the THC Garden. a groundbreaking experience here in Loring Park. So this is an exclusive lounge area that are featuring a variety of THC beverages, edibles, and tinctures for you to enjoy. The rules, however, of the THC garden is that there's no smoking allowed. So products must be consumed within the gated area. So products like gummies may be purchased and taken home for consumption, but must remain sealed in the public in the park itself. But very exciting to have a THC garden. There's also a bowl. So the bowl is located in the sports field. This year, bringing it back, riders who last 8 seconds or more will walk away with bragging rights and horns. And the proceeds from this ride actually go back into Twin Cities Pride's year-round programming. Those are just a few of the highlights right now. I'm going to talk about more as we go throughout the program today. For folks who are thinking about coming down to the park, the shower, I mean, it really wasn't showering, but it was sprinkling earlier. That seems to have cleared out, even though it's a little bit of overcast. There are free transit ride metro passes to get here. If you go to tcpride.org and look up the Pride Festival, the transportation, you can fill out a little thing and you can get out a free pass. So if you want to take the metro here, there is also bicycle parking available at the Horseshoe Court. That's in the purple zone. It's off of West 15th Street. So if you're bringing your bike over, you can drop it off and park it and then just enjoy the park without having to worry about something happening to your bike.
That's cool.
There is, oh, I'm sorry. No, that was incorrect. The drop-off, the ride-share drop-off is at West 15th Street. The bicycle parking is, oh no, they're both at West 15th. I'm fact-checking myself. The bike check is at West 15th Street, and the ride-share services are picking up and dropping off people at Loring Park on West 15th near the Oak Grove Street bus stop. So you can also take ride-share services. Of course, there are parking ramps for folks who want to park. So there's the Loring Park ramp at Nicollet Avenue, 1330 Nicollet, and then of course there's the MCTC, the Minneapolis College ramp as well. Check the pricing there before you come, both at the Loring Park ramp and the Minneapolis College ramp. It's actually really lovely right now. If you're like, oh, do I go down? Do I not go down? With that overcast, there's a light breeze as well. So if you're like, oh, it's like 85 degrees out, it doesn't feel like it's 85.
I think Saturday has always been my favorite day because it's, you can see everything. You can stop at any booth. You can probably talk to somebody there. It's not kind of a constant parade of folks, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's still great people watching. There's still lots of people here, but it's more manageable. If you don't like crowds as much, this would be the day to come here. Don't you think?
Yeah.
That's what Gordy and I would always come here on a Saturday because Sunday was too much for Gordy.
Oh well, yeah, because you get all the folks from the parade who then stream into the park.
It must be double the number of people. Is my feeling. Now it's not hot here. Some people like it to be boiling hot, and it's not that, but it's comfortable.
The breeze is really helping right now. So if you're at home and you're thinking, oh, should I go down today? You should come down today.
Every once in a while when we're talking, I see somebody that catches my eye. So the people watching is great.
The people watching is great.
But I'm not always listening to you. I'm looking at you, but I'm not always listening to what you're saying.
Well, that's normal.
Okay.
That is normal. I want to learn a little bit more about our sponsors today. So Twin Cities Gay Men's Chorus is one of our sponsors. Entertainment worth coming out for. Jim, tell us a little bit more about the chorus.
Well, this is interesting to me. They're having their audition on September 4th on my birthday, which is a lovely gesture on their part. They didn't.
Are you going to audition?
They didn't have to do that, but they're auditioning people. And I know some people that have been part of the chorus and sometimes for many years. So you can imagine how kind of intense it is. They're very serious about their music. This is not just fun and games, but I think it's also vocal musicians who are serious about it and who are passionate about it. And so they describe themselves as vibrant and welcoming and talented music, and helps you grow musically while making a difference through music. And I think that's true. The gala choruses were here, was it last year?
I think it was, last year.
Which is a national choral event, might even be an international choral event. And they all came here and there were all these live performances and all that stuff throughout downtown mostly, and Twin Cities Gay Men's Chorus was the host of that. So they're selling their subscriptions now, and their next event is December 6th, 2:30 and 7:30. Winter Wonderland, where big band brass meets timeless carols and tradition with a toe-tapping twist.
It's their Jingle Bells and Jazz Noels concert.
It's called Alliteration, right?
Yes.
tcgmc.org is their website, and it's a beautiful website. They redid their marketing and positioning, and it's just a gorgeous website. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it, but it's really beautiful.
Beautiful website, but also more importantly, an amazing chorus.
Yeah.
That we should be supporting right now, particularly
in the same league. You know what I mean? The
yes.
website and the chorus now reflect each other.
Yes. Particularly, as we see the Trump administration canceling not Twin Cities Gay Men's Chorus, but Gay Men's Choruses out of the Kennedy Center. It's a real important time to be supporting music and the power of it right now, because they're trying their very best at the federal level to erase us, and we need to be fighting back about that. Okay, so I had a sandwich here that was provided by Maverick's Real Roast Beef, and we were just there a couple weeks ago. So we were at the in Roseville at 1746 Lexington. They're open Monday through Sunday. But okay, first of all, I want to talk about the cheese curds, because I go around Minnesota. Everywhere I go, I try the cheese curds, because for me, the cheese curds at the Minnesota State Fair are the best at the mouth trap. And I always compare wherever I'm going.
Yep.
These cheese curds at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, no one is paying me to say this. I'm just going to say this right now. Nobody is paying me to say this. They are, I'm going to say, a very close second.
We didn't have cheese curds here, but if we did have them, I would have fought you for them.
You would have lost. Also, I was a big fan of their homemade barbecue sauce.
Yep.
That was very tangy, really made that roast beef pop. But they were really nice. They gave us sandwiches here. It hit the spot. I really needed that.
Well,
it's going to help me go for 2 hours.
You think, well, this place is in a strip mall, but I mean, you walk in there and there's atmosphere, and you feel it's very homey feeling. You feel very welcome.
Very Western theme in there.
Yeah, once you kind of go past the counter, you feel like you're in a really comfortable place that you can stay as long as you want, and the food is great, and there's a condiment bar that never stops, and it really exceeded my expectations.
Yeah.
So it was great.
It's fantastic. Speaking of staying as long as you want, here at the AM 950 tent, we have chairs set up for you to hang out and chill. If you're feeling like, oh gosh, I've done a lot of walking right now, you can hang out in those chairs. Obviously, you can listen and adore the Gaily show, but you can also just, it's a chill space for you. So know that is here for you. We're at the end of Yale Place in booths 407 and 408. Pride every year is really hit and miss based off of what the Supreme Court is going to do. And I feel like the Supreme Court did a really good job of trying to ruin Pride again this year with 2 of their decisions. But there's one decision that I want to briefly talk about where we won. Because yesterday there was a lot of terrible decisions that we were all kind of really focusing in on, particularly Mahmoud versus Taylor, which was the LGBTQ book ban case. And also, the case where they basically said courts aren't allowed. They limited the power of the courts. But I wanted to talk about the case around PrEP. So there were a coalition of Christian businesses that were trying to say, this is wrong that you're forcing us to cover PrEP and HIV preventative medications. And I'm going to hit a hard break here. So I'm going to briefly talk about that when we come back, because we won that case, and it was very important. Right now, you are listening to The Gaily Show. We're going to take a break. Please listen to our sponsors and support them, because they make shows like The Gaily Show and progressive radio possible. Without them, we couldn't do this. So thank them, especially if they have a booth here today. But thank them, reach out, please do business with them, because they make this possible. You're listening to The Gaily Show on AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, live from Twin Cities Pride in Loring Park.
See you in a few.
Hey, Francois, how are you enjoying your first vacation in Minnesota?
Bonjour Laura, je suis très content car j'ai découvert un truc des macarons.
Oh, you're happy because you found a truck of macarons? You mean a food truck?
Oui, il s'appelle Nicolette's.
Oh, you mean Nicolette's macaroons. Oh,
Oui, Nicolette's macarons.
they're very popular.
Ces macarons sont délicats, délicieux et raffinés. Ils me rappellent Paris.
Delicate, delicious, refined, and they remind you of Paris. That's a big deal, Francois. You're so finicky.
Je suis français, je suis un gourmand.
Oh, is that French for picky?
Oui.
Did you know that Nicholas will be at the Twin Cities Pride?
Mais je suis gay, j'aime bien Nicolette's.
Oh, I know you're gay and you love Nicolette's. That's why I'm telling you, their truck will be at the Twin Cities Pride.
Allons-y, happy Pride.
And you can also go to the website at nicholasmacaroon.com.
I'm Amy Ruzick with No Place Like Home at REMAX Results. We're proud to sponsor AM 950's booth and all the incredible live broadcasts happening throughout the Twin Cities Pride weekend, like the Illegal Trans Woman, the Gaily Show, and so many more. At No Place Like Home, we believe that real estate is more than just houses. We're more than real estate agents. We educate, advocate, and give back. Whether you're buying your first home, selling your current one, or relocating to Minnesota for a fresh start, we offer guidance that fits your life, not just the market. With LGBTQ plus rights under attack in so many places, Minnesota stands as a beacon, and we're proud to help both new arrivals and lifelong locals find where they truly belong. Experience the difference in working with a team that's deeply rooted in community. Learn more at noplacelikehome.info. At No Place Like Home, we work hard for our clients while serving the community we love.
Your Twin Cities Metro Public Libraries are committed to providing quality services, resources, and programs to the LGBTQ plus community. Check out the Metro Pride book list, including ebooks and e-audio for kids, teens, and adults at melsa.org/pride-booklist. That's melsa.org/pride-booklist. You'll find titles specific to different identities, including aromantic, asexual, bi+, gay, genderqueer, intersex, lesbian, queer families, transgender, and two-spirit. Stop by Melsa's tent at Twin Cities Pride to share your own reading recommendations. Check out those contributed by other festival attendees. Pick up buttons and bookmarks and find out more about your Twin Cities Metro Public Libraries. Don't have a library card? Staff at the tent can help you with that. There will be librarians from the Metro Public Library systems who are happy to provide book recommendations and other info on how to get the most from your library card. Broadcasting from Loring Park and Minneapolis, you are listening to The Gaily Show right here on AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota. We are the only daily LGBTQ progressive news and talk show on the radio in these United States, also airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. We are broadcasting from Loring Pride. It is Twin Cities Pride. The sun is starting to come out here. There's a lovely breeze, which is keeping the temperature very mild. Briefly, I want to wrap up. Oh, first, no, we got to thank our sponsors. Thank you to our sponsors who are making this broadcast possible. Cause Cart, the Metropolitan Library Service Agency, MELSA, No Place Like Home's Real Estate, Twin Cities Gay Men's Chorus, Nicolette's Macaron, Minuteman Press, Uptown, Mavericks Real Roast Beef, and Cuppa Java. So yesterday, we actually did win a Supreme Court case. There was a group of Christian businesses that were very upset that the U.S. Preventative Task Force, which is part of the ACA, were forcing them to offer PrEP and HIV preventative medicines through their insurance programs. And so they sued and they said that this task force was unconstitutional. Well, the U.S. Supreme Court said, no, they actually are constitutional. And so for now, they have to continue providing PrEP and HIV medication, which is a win. They got lost yesterday in some very serious, awful court cases. And we'll definitely be talking about those on Monday at our regular broadcast. But right now, Christopher Tredowski is a writer, artist, and art historian. His debut novel, Midnight at the Cinema Palace, just came out this month. For folks who are watching online, here it is, gorgeous cover. Christopher is a Twin Cities-based writer in St. Paul. He teaches art history and writing at Augsburg University. His short stories have appeared previously in Bloom, Callisto, Queen's Mob, Tea House, the Cossack Review, and Harrington Gayman's Fiction Quarterly, among other venues. The Lambda Literary Foundation awarded him the J. Michael Samuel Prize for Midnight at the Cinema Palace. He's also won the Bloom Literary Journal Chapbook Prize for Fiction. Folks, this is just a partial bio. Christopher, it is great to see you again. Welcome back to the Gaily Show.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you for having me back.
Yes, absolutely. It was really lovely. We got to talk with you earlier this month. Congratulations on your new novel. I got to read an advanced proof. Thank you for sending that along. It was
pleasure.
really delightful. Tell us what Midnight at the Cinema Palace is about.
Well, it's kind of a coming-of-age novel about Walter Simmering. And Walter Simmering moves to San Francisco in 1993, in the early 90s. He's right out of college. He's freshly out of the closet. And it's about how he explores San Francisco and finds his people at this very, I think, interesting and important time in San Francisco history, the early 90s. So the height of the AIDS epidemic, and then the beginning of the dot-com bubble blowing up. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Something that I really appreciate about reading the novel, and I know we talked about this earlier, but it's such a beautiful part of the novel, is that as a art history professor, there's so much, evocative descriptions of the architecture of the city of San Francisco. Tell us more about how you depict San Francisco. It's almost like it's a character in itself.
Yeah, I did think of San Francisco as a character in the novel, and I was very self-conscious about, I wanted the novel to be a love letter to San Francisco, love letter to other things as well, queerness. But San Francisco plays a character certainly for me, and I did focus a lot on the architecture and the facades of San Francisco. Another thing that it's really about is movies, and I think of San Francisco as being very cinematic. It's very photogenic, right? And there's so many beautiful facades in San Francisco. So I spent a lot of time in the book describing those facades so that you get a sense of how beautiful the surfaces of the buildings are and how cinematic the city is.
And so you say that it's called Midnight at the Cinema Palace, and a screenplay, the two of the characters are writing a screenplay. So talk to us about film and how it plays a role itself within the novel, and how it creates relationships, because there's also a really fun character that you meet from old Hollywood in there. I don't want to give away spoilers, but talk to us about cinema in this novel.
So there are three main characters, and they have this kind of entangled romantic friendship, and they're all obsessed with cinema. So I wanted to give them a shared obsession, and cinema was kind of an easy thing for me to work with. I've studied film, and I love cinema myself. So having them all kind of bond over a shared obsession with cinema was really kind of like helpful thing structurally for me to use. But also the history of film and the history of cinema is queerness is bound up with that. And there's so many fabulous films that have this queer coding in them.
Yes.
And that's part of why they're obsessed with film noir in particular, because film noir is a genre in which the queer coding is like barely coded, right? It's really close to the surface. And so they have a lot of fun exploring that aspect.
And they come across a character from old Hollywood that is
so
delight.
Eventually they meet Lawrence Fonseca, and Lawrence Fonseca was a childhood actor. It was a child actor and had bit roles with his mom, who is also a bit actor in Hollywood. And then Lawrence grows up, he's gay, he comes out, and he becomes an experimental filmmaker. So Lawrence, to me, was a very rich character because he has this history of the golden age of Hollywood where he was in movies as a kid, but then he kind of moves away from that and he becomes an experimental filmmaker.
Love that. We are talking with Christopher Trudowski, a writer based here in St. Paul, Minnesota. His debut novel, Midnight at the Cinema Palace, just came out this month. Christopher, another really interesting thing about the novel is your exploration of gender.
Yeah, that's a really important aspect of the novel. So Walter's he's kind of naive, and he gets to San Francisco and he's newly out and he doesn't know a lot about, queer culture, queer life. And then he meets this couple, Carrie and Sasha. And Carrie and Sasha are, for him, like really glamorous and they really play with gender in a way that he didn't even realize was possible. So they're both very gender expansive, Carrie and Sasha. And so part of what I wanted to do with the novel was celebrate both queerness and gender queerness through these characters who, it takes place in the 90s. So they're exploring gender in a way that is pertinent to today, but I wanted to make clear was certainly going on in the 1990s and earlier.
And there's also a poly relationship as well, and we don't see a lot of poly, relationships depicted in novels. So talk to me about how you went about writing that, because there really isn't yet in mainstream fiction.
Yeah, to some extent the novel is about polyamory, and there's a kind of question that Walter asks himself. It's like, is it even possible to love love two people at once, or love more than one person? And that's something that he confronts as well. My feeling about that, and if you look at the history of novels and cinema as well, films as well, whenever there are threesomes or polyamorous relationships, it's usually really lurid. And it's usually kind of played for a joke, or it is just the depiction is really prurient, right? And I wanted to reject that, and I wanted to make, Walter becomes kind of really entranced with this couple. It's like he's falling for them both at the same time. And I wanted to do a depiction where that was as romantic as I could possibly make it, So it's not just like pair bonding in couples that can be romantic.
Yes.
There are possibilities for polyamorous people to have, very romantic relationships, even subsequently. So that's something I definitely wanted to explore.
Absolutely. I mean, it reminded me of, the only other really novel that I've really appreciated the poly relationships in was Michael Cunningham's A Home at the Beginning of the World, which is that's another, two guys and a woman, they identify as such, are trying to figure out, like, we all love each other in different ways. What it'd look like if we all loved each other together.
Now I have to read that soon too, because I haven't read that one, and I didn't know about it. I mean, I've love Michael Cunningham, of course, but I haven't read that one.
It's his first novel,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see the seeds of The Hours, which is his Pulitzer Prize novel. It was The Hours was his third novel, so you can start to see the seeds, the germination of The Hours.
Yeah.
But it is a really interesting novel of how we create these, really impactful relationships that aren't always about sex, and then how do you then bring that all together and create a family in Woodstock, of all places.
Yeah.
We have a lot of book bans. If I can ask a serious question at Pride.
Yeah.
Because Pride started as a riot and a protest, so we got to have a little bit of politics in here. We are dealing with a very coordinated, systemic, multi-decade campaign to erase queer writers from not just school libraries, but they're trying just anywhere they can to erase us from public spaces. So you, as an award-winning author, now a debut novelist, how are you processing and navigating this world where, on the one hand, we have publishers that are publishing books more and more and more, and yet we also have simultaneously this huge censorship movement happening?
Oh, I mean, this censorship is always dispiriting. It is, it's just kind of overwhelming that, and there was the Supreme Court ruling that came down just yesterday, siding with Christian families who don't want their young children to be exposed to children's books that basically are just going to teach them something about the reality of children in queer families. It's so disheartening. At the same time, there's so much great literature coming out now. I mean, there's more queer literature that's more available than ever. And my publisher, Simon & Schuster, has been really, really supportive. And my editor, Olivia Taylor Smith, was like really supportive always from the beginning. So I've always felt totally supported in that way. And I'm really proud that I wrote and published a book that is anathema to the Trump administration.
Yes.
Like Stephen Miller would hate this book, and that makes me really happy.
That's a new. You should put that in a sticker on the cover.
Stephen hated.
Boost sales. Stephen
Yeah,
Miller
that would
will
be a
hate
great
this book.
blurb for it. Read this because Stephen Miller would hate it.
So as thank you for that perspective, and as also, I mean, you are instructor in an MFA program. So what advice do you have for all of the writers who are walking around Loring Park right now and are trying to write that debut book, whether it's an essay collection or a novel or, you know, nonfiction?
Oh, sit down and write it. Just like get writing. Don't put it off. And I've been writing for many years, but it took me a while to work up the courage to write this novel, and I didn't have a lot of courage, of my convictions about presenting a novel like this, which is actually really, really personal. It's very personal for me to get it out there. And queer people always are having their voices kind of undercut. It's like I started to really doubt myself. It's something that Margaret Cho talks about really beautifully in one of her stand-up evenings, right? It's like queer people are always we're always undercutting ourselves. And if you do that for your whole life, right? And even after you've come out and stuff like that, it's just so important to have the courage of your convictions and say, yes, like, my voice is worthwhile, and if I put it out in the world, people will respond to it.
Thank you for that. We need to hear more of that. I think it was on Blue Sky. I saw some folks saying, you know, giving advice saying, stop saying that you're an aspiring writer. You're a writer.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
That is, you know, having that courage of convictions and saying, no, this is who I am. I'm not going to undercut myself. I'm not going to be self-deprecating.
I feel like if you're writing honestly, if you're kind of telling your truth, it will resonate with people. I'm getting a couple of reviews. I'm not getting a lot of reviews, but I am hearing from readers who are really very touched by the novel. And for me, that's where it's at. There are readers with whom the book is really resonating. And it's just, it's so heartwarming.
That's great. I'm glad that you're having that. Real briefly here, I've got about a minute left. What is your favorite thing about Pride?
My favorite thing about Pride, I have been coming to the Twin Cities Pride since I was quite young. I went to McAllister for undergraduate, and I love the continuity of it. But I'm gonna reveal my age, but it's like over 30 years ago, when we used to come in our college group and we march in the parade. It was small, it was scrappy. We felt like we were really getting out there and accomplishing something. And I love the continuity of that. But there's still that feeling.
Thank you so much. The novel is Midnight at the Cinema Palace by Christopher Trudowski. You can get it at all fine book retailers. We will include links in our show notes and on our website. I have to take a break here. We are going to come back where we'll be talking with Chris Bro from Outfront, Minnesota. You are listening to a special episode of The Gaily Show, live from Twin Cities Pride.
When was the last time you had your roof inspected for extreme weather and hail damage? This is Chad, owner of AM 950, to talk about the exterior construction company I trust, Snap Construction. If you've noticed new roofing projects in your neighborhood, your home was likely hit by hail last summer and experienced damage. Snap Construction is helping homeowners like you, and they're the roofing specialists I trust. They are the most well-reviewed contractor in the Twin Cities and have a ton of positive customer reviews from homeowners just like you. Even better, Snap Construction's installations are backed by a lifetime warranty, so you know you're dealing with a qualified roofing expert. You want to work with a company that will be here for a long time after the work is done. Snap Construction has handled thousands of claims and will help you through the process. Do yourself a favor and get a free roofing inspection so you have the facts and peace of mind you deserve. Call Snap Construction today at 612-333-SNAP. That's 612-333-SNAP. Or visit snapconstruction.com.
Peace of mind shouldn't cost a fortune. We keep things simple at Schroman Law because we believe planning for your estate and end-of-life care shouldn't be stressful or expensive. Every client relationship starts with a free consultation so clients have the information they need before making important decisions. From there, we work closely with clients to ensure they are choosing the most efficient and cost-effective plans for their specific needs. Schedule a free consultation today at schromenlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
June is bursting with color, community, and joy, and Coscart is your destination for shopping with pride and purpose. Find pride-themed earrings that support queer causes, hand-poured candles that celebrate identity, and bath teas that nourish your spirit, all while with supporting the makers and mission-driven brands working to build a better world. At Coscart, every item reflects a cause, every brand gives back, and every order helps create the kind of future we want to live in. Biodegradable packaging and carbon offset shipping are standard. And during Pride Month, you get free local delivery in the Twin Cities when you enter pickup at checkout, now through June 30th. Whether you're buying a gift, treating yourself, or just browsing for joy, know that every purchase supports positive action. Celebrate Pride. Shop with purpose. Visit cause-cart.com today for free local delivery in the Twin Cities when you enter pickup at checkout until June 30th. cause-cart.com. Shop what matters to you.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our local leaders. How do you reward your employees? How do you appreciate your business partners? Thousands of local organizations just like yours count on Minuteman Uptown for promotional products. We craft custom awards and plaques. We print your logo on apparel, office supplies, and thousands of other items. Minuteman Uptown helps you reward employees and stay top of mind with customers and vendors. We print everything. Contact us today at mpuptown.com.
Coming to you from Loring Park and Twin Cities Pride in Minneapolis. Welcome back to the Gaily Show. I'm your host, John Parker. With me is my executive producer, Jim Pounds. This would not be possible without our sponsors, Coscart, Melsa, the Metropolitan and Library Service Agency, No Place Like Home Real Estate, Twin Cities Gay Men's Chorus, Nicolette's Macaron, Minuteman Press Uptown, Maverick Real Roast Beef, and Cuppa Java. We'll be learning more about those sponsors in the second hour of our program. We are joined now by Chris Bro. I have notes here. Chris Bro is the Outfront Minnesota's Greater Minnesota Community Organizer. And if I recall correctly from our conversation earlier this year, are you celebrating an 18-year anniversary with your husband?
It just happened, and we did. It was wonderful. Speaking of prides, it was at the Grand Marais Pride, and it was a gorgeous weekend with a really robust, strong queer community up there.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. So as the Greater Minnesota Community Organizer, and we're 6 months in, talk to us about the work that you're doing and the work that other folks are doing out there, because there's a lot of resistance and a lot of great organizing helping out there. And I know that your role is really to help enable and make more of that happen.
Yeah, I am just so proud of the work that the communities are doing. So my husband and I, we actually live in St. Francis School District, and that school district, you may have heard something, I take it there. So they have a book review policy, or they had a book review policy that was leading upwards of almost 50 banned books. And so I was able to work with the community, some great work happening around St. Francis to combat that policy, and it has changed. The books will be returned to the places where they came from. They've agreed to not touch the policy for the next 3 years unless the state policy actually changed. So it's moments like that that I'm just so proud of this state specifically, because you don't have that in every state. Places like Texas, places like Florida, they are still struggling with this every single day, and our community keeps showing up. So just great work throughout. And, there's so many stories like that. Right now, obviously, we are in Pride season, so this is my 4th Pride that I've actually been to, and seeing the communities just come together, it's really, truly beautiful. And so that's where a lot of my organizers is coming around right now, sharing some of the good news. We just got done with our legislative session, and we had 100% wins with Outfront Minnesota.
Great.
Yeah, so these are things that people don't always hear. 3 different budget requests that were successful, and then 2 different policies that went through on a non-policy year. So really some great wins.
It's fantastic. And also, shout out to unions, Education Minnesota, the teachers union, jumping in on that St. Francis book ban and suing them along with the ACLU of Minnesota. Those are, the work between what they were doing and what you were doing on the ground there. It is fantastic. And we're lucky to be one of those states that does have a law that that we can rely on when there's shenanigans in the in the classroom. You came here from Arizona, right?
Yeah, so we've been here for just celebrated 2 years in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And then before that, it was 1.5 years in Colorado, and the rest of the time of those almost 18 years there, we're in Arizona. Yeah. So it's great seeing Pride in different states. I've seen it in Colorado, and then we have, I think we're the 2nd biggest here in the United States, other than San Francisco Pride, I want to say.
My understanding, and folks, you can't call in, but you can come up to the table and fact check me. I believe this is the largest free Pride in the world.
It's amazing. The vibe is so great here today. Just everybody's really joyful. So it's great to be out here. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, the reason why I brought up, Arizona is because I know Arizona has its challenges, right, as well. But no state is without its challenges. We have them here too. We're not the, utopia, as close as we try to get to it though. But talk to me about that work of navigating between the 2 states, and maybe things that we can learn, other things that we could learn from each other.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I'm noticing in Minnesota is there is a desire to be together. So all of the different disenfranchised groups, we're working together in a really concrete way. We have a really strong coalition partnership in Minnesota, and I don't think that was necessarily true in Arizona. So especially with a lot of the different situations going on with ICE, there is a really big divide in the queer community in Arizona, even between white and Latin individuals. And so I'm so grateful that in Minnesota, we still have problems, we're not perfect, but there is this desire to be together. And that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed in between the 2 different states. It's gorgeous. It's really gorgeous. Minnesota has the most nonprofits out of any state, and you can see it. People here care.
Yes. I know we're at Twin Cities Pride, but what are actions that we can take here in the cities to support what's happening in greater Minnesota?
Show up. If you have the opportunity to go out to these events, go there. Just be in community. That's really what we want to see from people right now, is being your authentic self, going out to these spots, showing that people are not together, especially in greater Minnesota. It's easy to sometimes feel isolated. So if you hear of an event, Minnesota Extension did an Ag for All event, probably 4 months ago now, and that was for queer rural farmers throughout the state, and it was gorgeous, and that was in St. Cloud. There is great events, great groups happening outside of the Twin Cities, so if you have that, go, be a part of it, sign up for newsletters. And if you are listening and you are in the rural space yourself, one of the things that we're really recommending for people, always school boards, any city council, even nonprofit boards. If you have time and you want to be part of a board, we need rural voices on our nonprofit board. So that's one thing that we really would like to see people have.
If you've been waiting for a sign to run for something,
it is here.
This is your sign.
Please.
Right here. If you have ever said in the past 5 years, if I run a board, I would do this, now is the time.
It's kind of like that RuPaul's Drag Race. Every drag queen's like, or everybody at home on the couch is like, I can do this. Go do it. Let's see it happen. Let's boots the house down.
And if you're part of the queer community, you can turn to an organization like Outfront.
You can
get advice on how do I do this.
Yep. I've done a lot of presentations on ways to engage and disengage with the political atmosphere because we do need to engage. We do need to be active in democracy right now, but we have to protect our space and protect our peace as well. And so having boundaries, this is how and when I engage is really powerful. And then having ways to step away from that so you're not overwhelmed. So you're not just constantly hearing the negative news. And so making sure you have a strategy around that is gorgeous.
And I'm not meaning that facetiously. Seriously, I mean, if you're looking for a way to fight back right now, finding a nonprofit board, get on that darn board. I almost swore. Run for something, be in the primary, help knock on doors. We shouldn't be waiting. I know, Jim, for you, voter registration should be an all the time thing, not just waiting until 3 months before an election.
Yeah, we tend to forget about it in between elections, but it's something that you can do all the time. And speaking of boards, I'm trying to get on our rural township board in Wisconsin. I live.
Because Jim's a Wisconsin resident.
Yeah, I live in Wisconsin, which all the trouble they're having, and so I'm trying to get on the town board, which is only about 4 people or 5 people, but it's not easy. Some of those really small rural areas are pretty insular. Everybody from the same families on the board, so you have to kind of break in a little bit. You have to be intentional about it.
You do, and that's one of the things that working with St. Francis, the work that I've done, it's been with the community groups to get to know my own neighbors, because we've been here for 2 years, but we don't know everybody.
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to, is starting to know your neighbors, let them know you, and then you can move forward to help the community in whatever way kind of works for you.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you said that, because I was just reading something the other day, some research on social connectivity, and how they were saying social media is great for like blasting out, some messages, but it doesn't necessarily change behavior. But knowing your neighbors and social connectivity really does change behavior. And they were even saying, I was reading it from an environmental perspective, but they're like, solar power paneling, if you focus on a neighborhood, then that starts to spill out that connectivity to the rest of the city, as opposed to just looking at, like, Minneapolis, say, no, we're going to focus on Loring Park, and work on folks there. And that can begin to change, behaviors there. And so when we're talking about, trans healthcare and trans athletes in sports, and literally it's neighborhood conversations that are going to change things here. And that's something that, I wanted to come back to, because you mentioned about some differences between Minnesota and Arizona, and how we tend to be more intersectional, more like working together across marginalized identities. How do you, well, I guess, first of all, why do you think that is happening here in Minnesota as opposed to other areas? Like, what are we doing that's getting that right? Because we want to do more of that.
I think there's been a flashpoint here. Obviously, when George Floyd was murdered, that was a big sign to the community and the state at large, saying, hey, we do have this divide. There is racial challenges here. We need to do something about it. And so there are people that want to. Mm-hmm. And so that's a very unfortunate, horrible incident that has happened here. But in a way, it's helped us to come together and want to make that changes, make the reforms, have people showing up in the right kind of way.
Where would you like to see us go into the future here?
I want to see us active. I want to see us on school boards. There is a really direct, organized effort on the other side of the accepting spectrum, I'll say, in my nonpartisan role here, that they are organized. They know what they're doing. They are showing up in school boards. They're showing up in city councils. And that's where we need to meet them. We need to be there. We need to make sure that we have voices at those tables very specifically. And that's what I want to see.
We are talking with Chris Bro, the Greater Minnesota Community Organizer, to get to something a little bit. I know I love that. I don't want to, I think that'd be a great place to stop the interview, but I know that we still have a few minutes left, because I do have a question to come back to Pride. What is your favorite thing about Pride Festival every year?
The wonderful people. I remember, I'm in my 40s, so not old, not young, somewhere in the middle there. And I've seen the world change. And I love the fashion, the people, just loving who they are, being who they feel, wearing what they want to wear. Like, that's beautiful. And that's really what it is right now. We're all just unique, wonderful weirdos. And I want to support that. It's my favorite thing. I'm a wonderful weirdo.
We've seen some looks today. I saw someone in a Joker outfit, like the full purple suit and the green hair and the white makeup. I was like, Philip Anthony, one of the hosts of the Downright Upright show, which will be here tomorrow at 2 p.m., was like, should I go get a picture? I'm like, yeah. And then he turned off to the left and I'm like, darn it.
Well, and one of the things I would say, going back to your question about differences between Minnesota and Arizona, I love the furry community here. I don't think we have the same community in Arizona because it is quite hotter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
It's a bit warmer there. Yes. So you don't see many people in furry costumes there. So that's a big difference.
They might be there, but they're in air conditioning.
They're in air conditioning. Yeah, they're not in the middle of the summer in the middle of a park.
No, probably not. Not for very long.
Not for very long. Not dry.
I don't know what it says about me though, that one of my favorite places is Quatrefoil Library. Here, I love that tent, maybe because I'm such a book nerd.
Yes.
But I'm like, I could spend hours in that tent. So many good books in there it's definitely an area that you should be checking out here. I also saw someone walking around with cheese curds. Has anyone tried the cheese curds? Because I am a nut for cheese curds. So, Chris, bro, there's been a lot. I guess I'm going to go back to a more intense conversation here, but I want to do it in a more intense question. A lot happened this week with the court. How can we show up for each other right now?
I think it goes back to being in community, being with each other. Everybody's going to digest that information and have different needs.
Mm-hmm.
No two people are going to process. It's grieving, what was versus what is now, and it's a wake-up call to our federal government. It's just another nail in the coffin of their attacks on the queer and trans communities, a way to really isolate and target our communities. And so we have to be together right now. That really is the biggest thing that we can do. It sounds so simple, but even if in your community there's a community garden, go to it. Be a part of it. Don't start a new one. Go there with your friends. There's strength in numbers. Go there with your families. Go there. Be together and support each other.
I think thank you for saying don't start another one. I think that this is a moment where there are so many folks that are doing such amazing things. And instead of necessarily being entrepreneurial and saying, I'm going to do my version of that, or I'm going to go do my own thing, it's so important right now to be going and, don't go and start your own LGBTQ bookstore. Quatrefoil is there. You know what I mean? Like Out Front is there. Like, the Gaily show is there to do a self-plug. But I mean, there's so many great organizations that are trying to do things and expand networks that we should be looking at. Where are those opportunities of collaboration and not necessarily, is now the time for innovation? I don't know. Now is the time for collaboration and bringing together our resources, because something that we've been talking about on the show is I want to see an effing Project 2029, a progressive one. Right? Yep. But my soapbox notwithstanding, I'm going to step off of it right now. Chris Burrow, Greater Minnesota Community Organizer for Out Front, thank you for joining us again on the Gaily Show.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for all the work you're doing here.
Absolutely. All right, we are going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about more of our sponsors. We're going to be talking about a little bit more of the headlines that's happening here in the news. AM 950 has a pride mission that I also want to underscore here. AM 950 is here to celebrate pride with positivity, joy, and unity while amplifying LGBTQIA2S+ voices. They are proud to support and stand together as a community, especially in a time when LGBTQIA2S+ rights are under attack. So thank you to AM 950 Radio, not only for, again, supporting our show and the work that we're doing, but supporting all of the queer programming that we're going to talk about as well in our second hour. You are listening to The Gaily Show on AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Market Fresh Minnesota is your to-go destination for fresh vegetables, quality meats, seafood, and a wide variety of grocery staples. Locally owned and operated, Market Fresh Minnesota brings together the best of Asian foods in one welcoming store that is also kind to the pocketbook. Discover Market Fresh, your local Asian food store, just south of Rosedale on 1800 County Road 36.
The Council on LGBTQIA2S+ Minnesotans is conducting a community needs survey. Data from the survey will be used to make recommendations to improve LGBTQ people's health and well-being in Minnesota. The May 31st deadline has been extended through June. So as we celebrate Pride Month, make sure you take advantage of this extraordinary opportunity to tell our stories. The survey is confidential, and you can fill it out online at mnqt.info/survey.
Hey, Minnesota, it's your favorite sexy liberal. Join me and my fellow cohorts in liberal justice weekdays from 8 to 11 on AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
It's Brad Friedman, your friendly investigative blogger, journalist, and host of the Bradcast on AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1894. That was the day the American Railway Union, led by Eugene V. Debs, voted to support the boycott of Chicago's Pullman Palace cars. The nation was gripped by an economic depression. The Pullman workers were on strike because the company had severely slashed their wages. But Pullman had not reduced the workers' rent payments in his company town. When the American Railway Union held its convention in Chicago that June, the Pullman workers attended. They were determined to win the union's support. One of the Pullman workers who spoke during the union's convention was a young woman named Jenny Curtis. Jenny was a seamstress at Pullman. Her father had also worked for the company for 13 years. He had grown ill and could not work during the final months of his life. He died owing $60 in back rent to the company. Jenny had to pay off his back rent along with her own board. Then wages were slashed. Jenny became the leader of the ladies' union at Pullman Local 209. She addressed the railroad union meeting with passion and emotion, saying, "We struck at Mr. Pullman because we were without hope. We joined the American Railway Union because it gave us a glimmer of hope." 20,000 souls, men, women, and little ones, have their eyes turned toward this convention today. And thus, the merry war, the dance of skeletons bathed in human tears, goes on. And it will go on, brothers, forever, unless you, the American Railway Union, stop it, end it, crush it out. And so I say, come along with us for decent conditions everywhere. The American Railway Union voted to support the boycott, but the effort was brutally crushed by federal troops, resulting in the deaths of 24 workers.
Labor History in 2 brought to you by the Illinois Labor History Society and The Rick Smith Show. For more information, go to laborhistoryin2.com, like us on Facebook, and follow us on the Twitters at Labor History in 2.
It's time for a Tech Mobility Minute.
Recently, New York State lawmakers passed a bill that aims to prevent frontier AI models from OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic from contributing to disaster scenarios, including the death or injury of more than 100 people or more than $1 billion in damages. Known as the RAISE Act, the legislation has some of the same provisions and goals as California's controversial AI safety bill, SB 1047, which was vetoed. A major difference with the New York law is that it was deliberately designed so that it doesn't chill innovation among startups or academic researchers. If signed into law, New York's AI safety bill would require the world's largest AI labs to publish thorough safety and security reports on their...
It's finally summer and Pride season. To kick it off, Rainbow Road in Minneapolis has lots of new lines of fresh, fun, and memorable clothes and swimwear. If you want to be lit, you've got to come and see this great new merchandise. Show off some skin at Pride this year. And don't forget to get your rainbow gear before you go out to the 39 Pride festivals all across Minnesota. You'll need 39 new outfits. Get it at The Road, 109 West Grand Street in Minneapolis near Loring Park. If you're the parent or guardian of a queer young person, there's an opportunity for you to make their future brighter by filling out a community needs survey conducted by the Council on LGBTQIA2S+ Minnesotans. The council wants to know what the needs and experiences are of younger queer people. The survey is confidential and available at mnqt.info/survey. Let's address the erasure and isolation that young queer people can experience by creating a more inclusive Minnesota. Go to mnqt.info/survey to get started. Support comes from Hennepin Arts, presenting Hidden Brain Perceptions Tour with Shankar Vedantam. Are there parts of our minds that are hidden from us? This question launched the Hidden Brain podcast 10 years ago. Now host and creator Shankar Vedantam brings 7 key insights from the first decade of Hidden Brain to the stage. Whether you're new to the show or a longtime listener, this evening of science and storytelling will change how you think about yourself. Tickets available at hennepinarts.org.
Chanhassen Dinner Theaters brings you its most popular show of all time, Grease. You'll hear all your favorite hits from the Broadway musical and the movie. Join the whole gang at Rydell High. We'll sing, we'll dance, we'll bring you back to high school life in the 50s. Poodle skirts, bobby socks, the soda shop, and drive-in movies. Grease, it'll rock your socks off. Order your tickets today. Visit chanhassendt.com.
I'll never forget. I was driving my Sienna from Rudy Luther Toyota, and I was hit at 35 miles an hour, rear-ended square flush. If not for the structural integrity of my Sienna, I wouldn't be here right now. There's a lot I can say about Rudy Luther Toyota, about their fantastic service department and their great selection, but being able to say your car saved my life is the best endorsement I can make. Toyotas from Rudy Luther Toyota are my highest recommendation. Get one today and tell them me, Matt McNeil, told you to stop on in. Rudy Luther Toyota, 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Sunshine today with a high of 88. Chance of showers and storms tonight with a low of 70. Maverick's Real Roast Beef is an East Metro treasure with the best roast beef sandwiches in the Twin Cities and so much more. Maverick's is located in Roseville on Lexington Avenue, 1 mile south of Highway 36. Visit their website at mavericksbeef.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting from Loring Park, Twin Cities in Minneapolis. Welcome back to hour 2 of the Gaily Show. I'm your host, John Parker, joined in tent with my executive producer, Jim Pounds. We're a long way from the studio. I love broadcasting live from events. We were at Queermunity when they opened last November, the National Coming Out Day luncheon, and we're back here at Twin Cities Pride in Loring Park, and we're not the only ones. 11 AM 950 radio shows are broadcasting live this weekend. Coming up after us at 4 o'clock is the Illegal Trans Woman with Ellie Krug. Tomorrow we pick it up again at noon with the Matt McNeil Show, followed by Food Freedom Radio, the Downright Upright Show with Philip Anthony. Some show called The Gaily Show is going to be on at 3. And then Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken will wrap up our coverage tomorrow.
What do you suppose Matt McNeil is like at noon?
I don't know, but we're going to find out. Okay. We would not be able to do this without our sponsors, Cause Cart, MELSA, the Metropolitan Library Service Agency, No Place Like Home Real Estate, Twin Cities Gay Men's Chorus, Nicolette's Macaron, Minuteman Press Uptown, Mavericks Real Roast Beef, and Cuppa Java. I had some notes written down here, but this is Pride and we're queer. We can do whatever we want. So we're improvising radio right now because I saw a friend on the green, Paul Cram, who is going to be a guest here coming up on an episode for a book club that you do, Men Who Read, that you co-founded. You're also going to be on This Queer Book Saved My Life, which is another podcast that Jim and I co-produce together and I host. Paul, how is oh my gosh. Yeah.
Hi.
Oh my gosh.
Just had a moment.
See, this is all improv. I'm so used to seeing people on like laptops and everything. So, oh my gosh.
No, it's
all right.
really good to be here.
Guys.
I'm Paul. I'm also joined with Andrew Donacher.
Yes,
and he's going
Andrew.
to join us as well on the
One
book
of the
club
great
chat.
members of the Men Who Read.
Of Men Who Read Book Club.
Book
yes.
Club.
Thanks for having us out here. It's great. Happy Pride, everybody.
Happy Pride.
Yes.
How's your Pride going so far? Have you been around the park yet?
So I was looking for Andrew, and I wound up on the other side of the little pond, and I was looking specifically for the booth here on AM 950, and I was on the entire wrong side of the park. And it's very busy and it's very humid and sticky, but I'm happy to be here.
It has gotten a little bit more humid and stickier. There was a breeze that was happening that was keeping things really nice and lovely, but don't let that stop you. There's so many great things happening down here at the park. You need to get in your cars. You can also get a free Metro Transit pass. Go to tcpride.org and you can sign up and get that pass to come down here for free.
So you had to walk over here past all those handsome men to find this booth?
Yes.
How
Well, I
terrible was that?
pranced over.
Oh, all right.
Yes. I pranced over to all the handsome men. Yes.
Say you weren't suffering on that walk over here.
It was a very arduous prance.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it very much. I came out here. I'm actually going to be working at a booth too for Stonewall Sports. I play kickball and like bocce and all those kind of things. So I'm going to be
You do all the things, Paul.
I mean, I'm trying to stay athletic as I get older.
I feel sedentary.
I've given that up. No, both of you, Paul and Andrew, talk to us about Men Who Read, because this is a really fabulous book club that you have. I believe I just found out this number. You're in the 70s, right, of members?
Yeah. Yep. Online, we have about 70, 75, 77 members on Meetup. Yeah, I started the book club like in 2019. It was specifically for gay men only. And
I ruined it all.
And this guy ruined it all. Yeah. How did
then
you?
Andrew was like, no.
Now anybody can do it, I guess.
It's still for men. So like trans men, bi men, gay men. We're very open to any men. Yes. And I say that because I just have to say, women have the book club thing figured down. They like have that down to a science. So shout out to women for how they run their book clubs. We're taking notes and we're copying them.
And sharing their feelings. Men are not as good at that. Yeah.
Well, I think that's part of the reason that I like the space so much.
Yeah.
Making a space for us guys to we've read over 75 books now together.
Wow.
And it was pointed out to me, again, this is no shade towards anybody, but we actually read the books. I guess there's some book clubs where people show up and they don't.
They just try to fake it.
They just buy the book and drink wine.
Wow.
If he's listening, he knows who he is. I'm not gonna share names, but there's a gentleman who used to come. He never read the books, and he had strong opinions about everything.
How about that? That's such
Well,
a surprise.
well, so tell us about the books that you do read, because it's a very specific genre.
Nonfiction books. Yep. So we've read everything. We've read memoirs. We've read true crime, things like quantum physics. I mean, it seems like a lot of the books that lately this year that we've read have been like in the memoir true crime field. But what I love about this book club and the space is all of the different topics and all of the different, also like what Jim was saying, a space for us to talk about. I mean, I've shared with the group, like, here's a moment of deep grief I've had in my life, and we have all been able to like bond over like how we got through and those types of things. And that's kind of the underlying purpose and goal that I have had when I started the group, was it's like, I want a space to talk with men and let's make it and rock it out.
Love that. And Andrew, you're also, you don't just read, you provide other things and resources for the guys in the group.
Yeah, I do the deep dive. So when we read a book, I'll go at the extra mile. Like we just finished The Third Person by Emma Grove, which is a graphic novel. Phenomenal book if you get a chance to pick it up. But I wanted to know more about Emma because we got her story, but I wanted to know more about her. So I actually found a YouTube clip of her talking about the book and how she came about writing it and all that, and kind of get a little more of the story with the story type thing. So
great.
Yeah, and sometimes I share to the Facebook page.
Yeah,
but a lot of people don't go to the Facebook page. But I kind of like when we meet up, I kind of give like, oh yeah, I saw this, and there was more, and so just kind of give more in-depth view of the story behind the book.
We are talking with Paul and Andrew from the Men Who Read book club. Sorry, Andrew, I'm blanking at Paul Cram, and Andrew, you're
Doniger.
That's right.
It's all right.
Folks, this has been a week. It has been a week.
Happy Pride, John.
I'm really happy we're finally here.
And he's sober.
And he's sober.
Dead sober.
Oh yeah, Andrew and Paul. I want to know more about how you guys select the books, because so folks are right now they're going to go to Meetup or they're going to go to Facebook and like, hey, I want to join the Men Who Read book club. How do you go about choosing the books?
Well, it's been a little bit of a process of how I've designed that over time, but we're very democratic. There's a theme.
Democracy. Okay, thanks for joining us.
Yes.
We don't do that in America.
I mean, when the book club started, I was picking everything because there was just me and a handful of people. But nowadays, I throw out a theme, like a prompt. Like one of the prompts that was really fun this year was a book that was a bestseller the year you were born.
Oh.
And then people get to go and like find some books, throw them into the thing, and we'll vote.
Yeah.
So that's how we come up with it every month. So we have a lot of fun with it. Yeah.
And Andrew, was there a book that you would recommend?
Oh,
you guys have read?
Where do I begin? I'll go off one that we read last year. It's a book called "If at First at Birth You Don't Succeed."
Oh,
written by Zach Anner. He's a gentleman with a cerebral palsy, and he kind of talks about his life story on how he actually had a show on the Oprah Network, a traveling show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so he kind of talks about that, how he got the show, life after the show, and then there's also kind of like a second story in between that with how he was trying to find love at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yes, it was a very good book. So yeah, if at birth you don't
succeed.
Yeah, by Zach Anner.
That's a great title.
That is a great
It is a great title. He takes his like with a grain of salt. He doesn't take himself too seriously, and he makes fun of his disability, and he's obviously he's very aware of it. So, but yeah, it was a very good read. I laughed throughout that book with some of the
you
stuff
wouldn't
that-
expect.
You would not expect it at all.
Right. So, that's right.
And how do folks find you if they're like, oh, I'm listening to this right now, or I'm out in the audience and I want to join the Men Who Read Book Club? How do they connect with you?
This is a shameless plug for myself being an actor. Because I am an actor, and they can find the book club on my website. So it's just iampaulcram.com, and they can click on book club. So
I am
one of the many things
paulcram.com.
you do.
No, seriously, I couldn't. You long bio there. Tell us some of the productions that you have been in.
I have, I've done some stage stuff here in the Twin Cities, but most of the work I've done in the last few years is film related, which is really exciting for me. There's a couple of. Do you like horror movies? Anybody?
It depends.
Anybody? I don't know. Some people. I for some reason I get typecast in a lot of horror movies. So there's 2 horror movies that people can rent on Netflix and stuff right now. One of them's called Abroad, and the other one is called I'm totally blanking. Oh, The Soviet Sleep Experiment. So those are films that I've been in, but I've also done a lot of stage work here over time. Like I've worked on the Guthrie stage, and I've worked at Orchestra Hall and all that kind of stuff. So shout out to the theater community here in the Twin Cities because it's amazing.
Is there a particular queer play that is near and dear to your heart?
There, off the top of my head, I'm blanking. No. How about you?
I know it's the worst when people ask those questions, and I'm like, Angels in America.
Angels in America?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think Once Upon a Time, like that would seem as like the stereotypical, like, oh, of course he said Angels in America. But there was just something after the election, literally after the election, where if you've seen the HBO miniseries, there's this gorgeous oboe solo in there in the soundtrack. And after the election, I just kept hearing that over and over and over again. And so I said, I'm going to just watch the series. And Jim joined me, and I watched it over like a couple of days and just sobbed through it. And then got done, and I'm like, I need to watch it again. And so I watched it a second time, sobbed through it. And then Jim was like, okay, you got to have gotten it out of your system. I watched it a third time. And then Jim comes up one day with the script. And Jim has done like 100 shows here in the Twin Cities. I was, I went to school for acting and then did nothing with it after that. But Jim comes up with the script one day, and I'm like, oh. So of course I just devoured it and read it. And then offhandedly one day I was like, I would love to be in Community and read this with some guys.
Oh, I love
And
that.
so he's like, okay. And like 2 days later, he's like, okay, I have the whole thing cast. We're just going to be at our condo and we're going to read it. And I'm like, wait, what? And so we did a private reading in our condo of Angels in America. And that play is so, things that they were talking about, Tony Kushner it was of the moment, but also, I talked to a friend who said everything that I learned about America, everything I needed to know about American politics, I learned in Angels in America. And when you look at Roy Cohn and you look at Trump today, and just all these parallels that you see, but also how we can fight back. Anyway, I totally made this about me.
No, I love it. I'm learning something new about you, and it makes so much sense to me. I did not know that you had this performer background, that you were an actor. So now
I'm sure all my vocal coaches are listening and going like, John, you need to relearn how to breathe and deliver your lines.
No, this is fantastic. Also, my little brother tells me this all the time. He's like, you are a bad actor. And I'm like, why? And he's like,
and that is not your little brother anymore.
My little brother, because of the fact that he'll tell me all these movies and plays. And I'm like, I haven't seen it, haven't read it, I have no idea. So specifically Angels in America, I'm admitting this. I haven't seen it.
It's on, if you have Max, it's available on there, and you should go and see it. And also, nobody mounts the show because it's a beast of a show. It's 2 parts. Huge cast. And so Invictus Theater in Chicago, and we just talked to the director of that production, they are doing it. They started open today and will run through September 7th. So if you are in the Chicago area, which I'm including Minneapolis here, because we're trying to find a way of how to get down there,
Road
go
trip.
and see it, because it never travels. And it's such a huge show to invest that it's now, now that somebody is mounting it, we got to go and support it.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to take a break here. I got 10 seconds before we go into break. Paul and Andrew, thank you for joining us here on The Gaily Show.
Thank you for having us. Good to see you both.
We'll be right back. You're listening to The Gaily Show.
Hey there, Twin Cities. This is Andy Otto, your host for Twin Cities Pride Amplified. Join me as we dive into everything LGBTQIA+. From rights to culture, health, and events, we cover it all. Pride isn't just a June thing, it's year-round, and so is our show. Whether you're a part of the queer family or an ally, this is your space. Tune in to Twin Cities Pride Amplified every Saturday at 3 p.m. on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Do you have a loved one who is not receiving the care that they deserve at their current memory care facility? I'm Aiden Helene, Director of Community Relations here at the Welshire, and I meet with families every single day who are struggling with poor staffing, missed medications, poor personal cares, and an absence of engagement from consistent activities. 85% of our residents at the Welshire are coming from other memory care facilities that could not meet their care needs. Not all memory care is created equally. And if this is something your family is experiencing, I encourage you to come visit our community of well-being and see the Welshire difference, where we promise that your loved one will live with pride and dignity. The Welshire has 24/7 nursing, a robust activities team that provides activities 7 days a week. And when the diagnosis takes a 9-to-5 approach, so will we. Book a tour at welshiremn.com and see our community of well-being in action. That's welshiremn.com. Again, that's welshiremn.com.
Hey, Francois, how are you enjoying your first vacation in Minnesota?
Bonjour, Laura. Je suis très content car j'ai découvert un truc de macarons.
Oh, you're happy because you found a truck of macarons? You mean a food truck?
Oui, il s'appelle Nicolette's.
Oh, you mean Nicolette's macaroons. Oh.
Oui, Nicolette's macarons.
They're very popular.
Ces macarons sont délicats, délicieux et raffinés. Ils me rappellent Paris.
Delicate, delicious, refined, and they remind you of Paris. That's a big deal, Francois. You're so finicky.
Je suis français, je suis un gourmand.
Oh, is that French for picky?
Oui.
Did you know that Nicholas will be at the Twin Cities Pride?
Mais je suis gay, j'aime bien Nicolette's.
Oh, I know you're gay and you love Nicolette's. That's why I'm telling you, their truck will be at the Twin Cities Pride.
Allons-y, happy Pride.
And you can also go to the website at nicholasmacaroon.com.
Twin Cities Gay Men's Chorus is building community through music, one powerful performance at a time. With a vision of equality and inclusion, Twin Cities Gay Men's Chorus creates exceptional, entertaining, and essential programming that uplifts, educates, and inspires. Through harmony and heart, Twin Cities Gay Men's Chorus challenges injustice, celebrates diversity, and transforms lives. Learn more and find upcoming performances at tcgmc.org. That's tcgmc.org.
Coming to you from Loring Park in Minneapolis from Twin Cities Pride. Welcome back to the Gaily Show. I'm your host, John Parker, executive producer, Jim Pounds here in the tent with me. So great. I love that Paul and Andrew were just happened to be there. We just talked to them a few days ago, and then we're going to have an episode with them here on July 11th. They'll be back here on the show. Thank you to our sponsors, Cause Cart, MELSA, the Metropolitan Library Service Agency, No Place Like Home Real Estate, Twin Cities Gay Men's Chorus, Nicolette's Macaron, Minuteman Press, Uptown, Mavericks, Real Roast Beef, and Cuppa Java. They are all making this particular production of ours here in the Twin Cities Pride possible. And speaking of Nicolette's Macaron, a certain Francois told me how good these macarons are. And I have some here in front of me.
Yes, you do.
I'm very excited. I'm going to do my first ever bite into a... Can you tell us about Nicolette's while I'm taste testing?
I certainly can. I've got a lot of information here.
Oh my God, that's good. Oh my God.
Well, I didn't get a chance to say a word. You want information, or do you want to just moan into the microphone about it?
Oh my God.
Okay. So
where's their food truck? It's here somewhere.
It is here. The first thing I want to say is it's pronounced macaron, right? 3 syllables, macaron. John's a dual French citizen, so you probably know that. Macaron. They do have a food truck here, and I think all of the hosts are being given macaron to be able to enjoy.
Thank you, Nicolette.
But they make a wide variety of macaron. What distinguishes a macaron from a macaroon is that this is a sandwich, right? It's 2 pieces of a cookie with some sort of a flavored filling in between, and the flavor or the filling varies widely, I think. Do you know what filling you had in the first one you had?
I don't have the pack. Where's the package?
It was
it doesn't
green.
have it on there.
No, they won't tell you, but you couldn't tell a
It
particular.
was delightful. This is a very difficult pastry to make. Even when you go into France, you would think they're like, oh my gosh, they're all going to be, amazing. No, that's not true. I mean, you can go and get a really bad macaron there. That was
Well, let me tell you that they're made with egg whites, sugar, and almonds with mathematical precision. It says, and it sounds like they got it right, according to you. We fill our macarons with a white or dark Belgian chocolate ganache, sandwiched between 2 meringue-based cookies, and then they craft each flavor using natural, preservative-free, and gluten-free ingredients. So it's healthy.
Well,
too.
you say mathematical. I mean, this is from their website. Nicolette was a mathematician, and then turned into a professional baker.
Well,
and
how many times has that happened?
Yes, please. This is delightful. So there are multiple locations where you can eat these delightful macarons. They have a location in Plymouth, in St. Paul on Dale Street. At both of the Nadia Cakes locations, you can find their macaron at Surdyk's on Hennepin Avenue in Minneapolis, Cream of the Cakes in Lakeville, and of course, Minnesota's largest candy store in Jordan, Minnesota. Their food truck is here. I'm going to track that thing down at Twin Cities Pride. But they're also going to be at Taste of Minnesota next weekend. Bastille Day, of course, with Alliance Française in Minneapolis on July 14th. Loring Park Festival, the 26th and the 27th, and in the west end of the Minnesota State Fair. So thank you very much, Nicolette's Macaron. I was not paid for this, and that was delightful. Jim, do you want to take over while I finish this next one?
Well, I suppose I can. I should talk about, I just educated myself today a little bit about, I'm sorry. No, I'm on the wrong page. Let me go back. Back one more page. About Cause Cart. This is something that I was having a little trouble understanding what it was, and it helps to go to the website. It's a merchandise marketplace, an online marketplace, I guess we'll say, where you can buy a whole wide variety of different products that are socially and environmentally conscious, which, there's a lot of us that sometimes buy things and feel guilty about it. Well, here you can go and buy a variety of things and not feel guilty about it. So as the saying here is, you can shop with purpose, and that's something that we all should be doing more of. Their website is cause-cart.com. They have clothing, beverages, jewelry, beauty products, accessories, socks, home decor. I know I saw what almost looked like furniture. At Cause Cart, we're on a mission to make every purchase matter and created a platform where shopping meets social good, making it easy for you to contribute to a better world.
I think that you can buy Native Roots radio merch on Cause Cart, yes?
Oh, is that
yeah,
right?
you can.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that's even, really, you can't beat this. If you're a socially forward person, you can really feel good about what you're doing and do it with purpose. It says you're not just buying products, you're buying, talented artists from local artisans and nonprofits and all of that thing. So it's good for your soul in addition to good for the environment. Yeah.
Yeah. We need more. We need more
Thank
folks
you,
like
Cause
that.
Cart, for supporting us.
Thank you, Cause Cart. Cause-cart.com. Some highlights from this year's festival. There is, and I'm going to need to track this down too, the Queer Rights Tent. Rights being RITES. They are back for a second year. They've got more authors this year, so local LGBTQIA+ authors and booksellers. For all of the bookworms who miss the book fairs of our childhood, there is the Queer Rights Tent. There's also the Artist Alley. This is the second year that they're having the Artist Alley. It is a space dedicated exclusively to queer artists. In this section, you're going to find past and present Twin Cities Pride artists in residence, as well as other local queer artists. Of course, it wouldn't be Pride without the History Pavilion, which is at the Loring Park Community Arts Center. So many great pieces from the Jean Nicholas Tretter collection at the University of Minnesota. Just an absolutely brilliant, wonderful resource that we have here. And I even remember when I was doing an episode of This Queer Book Saved My Life, I was actually able to find archival footage from a march in the early 90s that they had on their website that was available, that I was able to look at it and analyze it and help me out with my research for this episode. So it's just such a wonderful, wonderful resource that we have here, and we're very lucky to have it. So if you head over to the History Pavilion, you can check out so many just delightful, wonderful things. And there's so much of our history right now that we're being forced to remember. I'm thinking of ACT UP, and all of the activism that they did and the tactics that they used are going to be so important and relevant to us today. I'm thinking of the die-ins, where they would go into churches and to government agencies, and everybody would lay on the floor, and there would be chalk outlines around the bodies, demonstrating the number of people that the inaction by the government, the number of bodies that the government was causing to die every day because they were doing nothing about HIV and AIDS. And here we're seeing it again, where they are fighting to get rid of HIV research, cutting hundreds of millions of dollars. We weren't at a cure for HIV, but there were scientists and medical professionals that were doing the research that were getting us there. And because of the Trump administration cutting, it's upwards of $1 billion in LGBTQ health research that has been set back a generation.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine anybody working against people's health. That's an almost an impossible concept to get your head around, but that's what's happening.
And the activist and previously astronomer. I have a sneeze coming. The astronomer Frank Kameny, who has a connection to Minnesota, he was fired from his federal job because of an executive order by President Eisenhower, who said no LGBTQ folks can serve in any department. Right now we're dealing with a trans ban with the armed services. This was an executive order for all federal employees. And he had the first case go to the Supreme Court, which he lost because, Supreme Court in the 50s, but the Supreme Court in the 2020s is the exact same. Where he tried to sue and say, no, this was discrimination. And the court upheld the executive order, which we're seeing right now, a Supreme Court upholding discriminatory executive orders. And so the work that he did, he never got to work as an astronomer again after he was kicked out of federal service, because so many of the jobs that he would have applied for were on contracts, even in the private sector or with universities, had contracts with the federal government, and he wasn't allowed to get clearances to do that. And so they effectively ended his career. He is somebody that we need to be learning about, and he had that Minnesota connection, and I believe that there are materials in the Jean Nicholas Tretter collection here at the University of Minnesota. So there's so much history that we need to be relearning and connecting to, and thanking our elders for doing that work. But also, how are we going to apply that activism today?
Well, if you're new to the Twin Cities, and a lot of people are, there's a lot of different estimates about that, but several thousand new residents in Minnesota. The Tretter collection is something you should know about. If you haven't heard of it, do some research there, because it's a pretty unique, I'm sure all places have some of that information, but it's pretty comprehensive background in the Twin Cities and our role that we've played in the national effort. So I highly recommend that.
Yes, definitely. I saw a cute puppy walk by, and that reminds me of another festival highlight. There is Pet Central, which is the perfect place for animal lovers here at Pride. Right now at the tent is a Ask a Veterinary Professional, and then at 5 o'clock is a trick dog contest. So yeah, tomorrow there's going to be a flealess market. There's going to be pet first aid from Access Veterinary Care, Paws, Paint, and Pride, where you can make your own pup art. So Pet Central, rather, here at Pride. Get your doggy put him on a leash and walk him down here. It is a gorgeous afternoon, a little humid, but there is sort of kind of a breeze.
I have
really.
to say, I'm a little
But the sun is out.
I'm a little disappointed that Mia isn't here. She belongs to the owner of AM 950.
Seriously.
Mia is often here, sort of overseeing the humans, but I think she's got a busy weekend. She might be here tomorrow, but
I hope so.
We're trying to get by without her, and I've already got 10 questions I've written down that I need to check with her on tomorrow. So hope to see you tomorrow on Mia.
Well, I've been trying to develop a great friendship with Mia. Now, when she sees me in the station, she's like, "Oh, look, it's John."
It's the reunion.
Tomorrow is the Pride Festival, and the Pride Parade, rather. It's still the Pride Festival, obviously, tomorrow, but the Pride Parade tomorrow starts at 11 a.m. The Grand Marshal is Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, is the Grand Marshal of the Twin Cities Pride Parade tomorrow. Twin Cities Pride issued a statement saying that Governor Walz has demonstrated unwavering support for the LGBTQ plus community throughout his career, from his days as a high school teacher, helping launch one of Minnesota's first gay-straight alliances, to his groundbreaking leadership as governor, signing laws protecting gender-affirming care and banning conversion therapy as governor. Governor Walz embodies the belief that everyone deserves to live with dignity, safety, and pride. So he will be the Grand Marshal of tomorrow's Pride Parade. Kicks off at 11 a.m. at 3rd and Hennepin, and will proceed down to Hennepin and Spruce, which is right here at Loring Park.
Now they'll come flowing through here like a fire hose in about 3 hours, right? I mean, this is the day when you can come to Pride and stop at all the booths, but literally on Sunday you'll be carried along by the crowd to wherever they're going is where you're going to wind up going on Sunday. Wouldn't you say? After the parade, you pretty much don't have free agency, I guess is what I'm saying, at Pride.
It is a robust Pride Parade. Even if we don't have floats, we were talking to our colleagues at WCPT 820. We air at 5 a.m. morning drive Monday through Saturday on WCPT, but they have the hosts Ellen Miller and Scott Duff of their Out Chicago weekly program. They're going to have their 600th episode this weekend when they're live broadcasting Chicago Pride Parade. But we were getting the dish on that station, WCPT 820's float, and they were shocked. They're like, "You don't have floats in your parade?" I'm like, "No, but we have so many great organizations and people that do."
Like, we're the 15th largest market, and they're like, "We're Chicago."
We're Chicago.
So back off.
But also, and I want to recall, speaking of learning from our past, and Christopher Trudowski, who was here earlier, is, talking about when he went to Pride a number of decades ago, that it was a march and it was a protest. And, we do see that here as well for the past few years, that we have had protests at our Pride Parade for a variety of different, causes. And we had a individual come up to us in one of the breaks here talking about the police violence that they had, been through, and we didn't know the subject or the rationale or the whatnot behind it, but clearly was very passionate about that topic. And so, there is, here at Twin Cities Pride, we're trying to navigate, the relations that we have here within the community, and we have to recognize that sometimes, we're able and we see some great presence here, trying to protect and keep everyone safe here, while also recognizing that there is work that needs to be done to support and protect the LGBTQ community. We're seeing it with ICE raids right now, where there are queer people that are being subjected to ICE raids. There are MAGA people. Just this week, on Monday, a Canadian citizen who is a green card holder died in custody. Was a MAGA Trump supporter. Was white. Someone that I'm assuming thought that this would never happen to him. He was rounded up at a standard hearing and was disappeared into a prison, had no contact with his lawyers, and had none of his medicine. He was an epileptic. I live with epilepsy, so that's how this got flagged in my news feed. And it was terrifying that they weren't even allowing him to have his medication to process his epilepsy. So going to take a break here in under a minute, but I just want to affirm the value of protest and why we need that, and how we need to be learning from our elders right now, because this is something that we need to be relearning, and the fights that we need to be learning how to wage again, because it is very coordinated right now what they are doing, and they clearly have a Supreme Court and a Congress that are willing to give them anything that they want.
I think he was also saying things have not changed. People might feel like they've changed.
There are things that have changed and not changed. I mean,
That's right.
we can keep that going after the break. After our show here, starting at 4 o'clock, is going to be the Illegal Trans Woman with Ellie Krug. That will wrap up our broadcast day today. And then starting tomorrow, Sunday at noon, will be the Matt McNeil Show. We'll be picking that up. For right now, you are listening to The Gaily Show. We have got one last break, but still lots to get to here from Loring Park, Twin Cities Pride in Minneapolis.
Support comes from Hennepin Arts, presenting Hidden Brain Perceptions Tour with Shankar Vedantam. Are there parts of our minds that are hidden from us? This question launched the Hidden Brain podcast 10 years ago. Now host and creator Shankar Vedantam brings 7 key insights from the first decade of Hidden Brain to the stage. Whether you're new to the show or a longtime listener, this evening of science and storytelling will change how you think about yourself. Tickets available at hennepinarts.org.
Hey, it's Patrick for Zero Res. June is here, which means you might be having a graduation party at your house soon. Summer also means sleepovers. Your kids are going to be at the playground, at the water park, at the beach. There's going to be a lot of mess coming into the house over the summer, and you need to call my cleaning heroes at Zero Res to make sure your home is in order for the summer. And since June is here, it's time to take advantage of Zero Res's best deal of the summer. Zero Res can take care of any surface in your home or business, including carpet, tile, hardwood, rugs, upholstery, and air ducts. This month, take 20% off all services when you call my friends at Zero Res 9520 Res or go to ZeroResMinnesota.com. Just tell them you want the AM 950 special. Their prompt, courteous team will come out and take care of you. Again, that's 20% off all services this month. Go to ZeroResMinnesota.com or call 9520 Res and ask for the AM 950 special. Zero Res, backward or forward, spells the same.
Your Twin Cities Metro Public Libraries are committed to providing quality services, resources, and programs to the LGBTQ+ community. Check out the Metro Pride book list, including ebooks and e-audio for kids, teens, and adults at melsa.org/pride-booklist. That's melsa.org/pride-booklist. You'll find titles specific to different identities, including aromantic, asexual, bi+, gay, genderqueer, intersex, lesbian, queer families, transgender, and two-spirit. Stop by Melsa's tent at Twin Cities Pride to share your own reading recommendations. Check out those contributed by other festival attendees, pick up buttons and bookmarks, and find out more about your Twin Cities Metro Public Libraries. Don't have a library card? Staff at the tent can help you with that. There will be librarians from the Metro Public Library systems who are happy to provide book recommendations and other info on how to get the most from your library card. The Council on LGBTQIA2S+ Minnesotans is conducting a community needs survey. Data from the survey will be used to make recommendations to improve LGBTQ people's health and well-being in Minnesota. The May 31st deadline has been extended through June. So as we celebrate Pride Month, make sure you take advantage of this extraordinary opportunity to tell our stories. The survey is confidential, and you can fill it out online at mnqt.info/survey.
Coming to you from Loring Park in Minneapolis and Twin Cities Pride. Welcome back to the Gaily Show. I am your host, John Parker. In the tent with me is my executive producer, Jim Pounds. Something that we're doing here at the Pride tent is we're also doing our LGBTQ media survey. Now, we have some paper copies of that here, but you can also take it online at tinyurl.com/LGBTQ media survey. And the reason why we're doing this survey, it's our first annual survey, is we're trying to figure out where are folks getting their LGBTQ news, and from those outlets, are they doing a good job? And also, like, what are the main outlets that folks are using right now? Because we do partnerships here on the Gaily Show. We have the White House correspondent for the Washington Blade. We have the managing editors from Dallas Voice and Windy City Times. And so we also see ourselves as community partners and wanting to uplift news outlets and other folks that are doing really great journalism. And so please consider taking our survey. We want to know, like, how are folks, what is your experience with the media? Where are you getting your news? Are they doing a good job? You can go to tinyurl.com/LGBTQ media survey. And we also have print copies here in the tent. We could not be doing this, our broadcast today, without our sponsors, Cause Cart, MELSA, the Minnesota Metropolitan Library Service Agency, No Place Like Home Real Estate, Twin Cities Gay Men's Chorus, Nicolette's Macarons, Minuteman Press Uptown, Mavericks Real Roast Beef, which is the real deal, and Cuppa Java. Let's learn a little bit more about our sponsors. MELSA, the Metropolitan Library Service Agency, is your Twin Cities Metro Public Libraries, and they are committed to providing quality services, resources, and programs to the queer community. They have a tent here today that you can go and visit where you can get recommendations for queer books to be reading, but you can also leave recommendations for queer books, films, TV shows for other folks to learn about. And something that we've had their project manager, Abigail Dillon, on. He's been talking to us about their Pride book lists. So this is a project they do every year where you can go to their website and find books based off of identity, so gender identity and sexual identity. So, like transgender, trans women, two-spirit, gay, lesbian, asexual. And you can also then see it broken down by age. So kids books for asexual people, and teen books and adult books, and it is a really great resource. I found a lot of really fun, interesting reads from it. You can access that at melsa.org/pride-booklist. That's melsa.org/pride-booklist, or you can just Google MELSA, MELSA, Pride Booklist, and you will find it.
I also want to talk about Minuteman Press. Minute Maid, listen to me. Just like, that's from my childhood. Minute Maid orange juice. I'm sorry. Minuteman Press. They are the largest Black-owned print shop in Minnesota, which I think is fantastic. They've been in existence for 25 years. They're a proud union shop. I love that. They invest in advanced capabilities that help local and small businesses compete with national brands. They have 1,000 active customers. They're here to empower your vision and help you connect with your audience in meaningful and impactful ways. mpuptown.com. I will also tell you that I had some Cuppa Java this morning. Cuppa Java is another sponsor, and it is Cuppa.
And they were
really
providing
good.
Cuppa Java here.
It was really Cuppa. It was Cuppa great, I thought. I really enjoyed it. It's they serve coffee and drinks in Bryn Mawr neighborhood in Minneapolis.
That was an unpaid recommendation, by the way.
Yeah, it was really. I make kind of crappy coffee at home. And this, you could tell the difference right away. You're like, oh, that's what it's supposed to be.
He's not necessarily lying about.
Well, I thought Avenue in Minneapolis, they're open 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's pretty long for a coffee shop, actually.
Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday, Saturday 7 to 8, Sunday 7:30 to 4. And you can order online at cuppajava.com.
And if you're in and looking for a realtor, No Place Like Home realtors work very hard for their clients while serving the community, and they mean this. Examples of their community partners are Quorum, Aliveness Project, Avenues for Youth, HRC, P Fund. There are more. Their team is led by Amy Ruzick, who was, as it turns out, the #1 RE/MAX results agent by transactions in 2020, 2021, and 2022.
Wow. That's kind of amazing.
Their community representing.
Yeah.
But they are a big supporter of the community. Their team is with KT Johnson and Chris Goebel. So definitely check them out if you are looking for a home or selling your home. They are in Hennepin Avenue in Minneapolis. No Place Like Home.info. No Place Like Home.info. A couple of other highlights from Pride here. More reasons of why you should get out to the festival today. There is a sports field. Paul Cram earlier in the show here was talking with us on his way there. There are local and professional sports teams who are here, athletic clubs, interactive activities for all skill levels. So if you're just looking to join a team or connect with other queer folks who are into sports, the sports field is that celebration of play and pride and the power of community through movement.
So you don't
something
mean
that I need to maybe think about because
don't
I
mean
sit behind a
somebody's-
microphone most of the day.
You don't mean somebody's playing sports. You mean there's just the organizations are represented. Is that right? You can go and
No, I think
talk
there are things they can do.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there are activities.
Oh wow.
There are activities. There is also a family services tent, clean, air-conditioned space designed with comfort and care in mind. There's both a child and adult changing, along with support seating for any feeding type. If you need a quiet moment or cool break, or just a place to tend to your family's needs, there is the family services tent. When you get here into the park, you can find an information booth. They have a map to all of these great resources that are here, and of course, which is a welcoming space for those celebrating pride and sobriety. So this area is home to small organizations like Twin Cities Recovery Project and other groups dedicated to recovery, wellness, and substance-free living. So whether you're in recovery or exploring sobriety or simply seeking a quieter space, you can find that at Sober Pride here in Loring Park. Oh my gosh, it's almost at 4 o'clock coming up here on the top of the hour. These 2 hours just flew by. I'm just, reflections on Pride this year. I remember 10 years ago being here in the Twin Cities for when Obergefell was decided by the Supreme Court, legalizing gay marriage across the land. And this was closely following on Windsor, which took down DOMA, the Defense of Marriage Act. And this was a couple years before Bostwick, which was some LGBTQ employment protections under Title VII. And, those are the big three. I guess the fourth one would be Lawrence v. Texas, right, in 2003, that struck down all of the anti-sodomy laws that all of the states had, where, cops were going into people's homes and arresting them for being gay and having gay sex. But here, 10 years ago, it's been 10 years this week since the Supreme Court, or that Supreme Court, legalized gay marriage. And there was a different vibe to it. It did almost feel like, oh my gosh, have we turned a corner finally in this country? And it was a moment, it was a moment. I don't anymore believe in the idea of, the arc of history bends towards progress. I think it's more of a spiral. And we are in a spiral moment right now. But I have to say that what I've noticed here today, both in broadcasting and watching people walk by, talking to people who have been here, walking around the park, is that there is a celebratory vibe to it. I think celebratory in the sense of wanting to be in community, which we should be doing right now. But everybody you seem to be talking to today is politics is on the mind, and the fighting is on the mind, and how do we resist? The resistance actually is on the mind here. And I think that is, I'm going to be very curious to see what Pride is like next year and the year after that, as we get into, 1 and 2 years into this neo-fascist administration, how this is going to change.
I think people's attitudes are changing. I think the current administration only represents 20% of the population. They have very deliberately subjugated democracy for the rule of the minority over the majority. And so what we have are people saying, how do we overcome this? The majority of people do support gay marriage. The majority of people do support rights for LGBT people and people of color and help for... Nobody supports
the majority. It's an all-time high. There was just a poll that came out, a Reuters poll this week, that said it's an all-time high for Democrats and an all-time high for independents, but it's going down with Republicans, because when you get enough MAGA people sitting there screaming about how terrible gay marriage is and how all the gays are, it's actually going down from what it was a few years ago. Right. And so, with one particular group of people and political party and its leaders, it is going back the other way. I have to say, though, that I get very annoyed that we are still asking American voters, do you believe in gay marriage? Like, screw you. I don't care if you believe in it or not. What I want pollsters to be looking at is, do you believe that this particular set of benefits that's assigned to marriage should not be, should a dude not be able to leave another dude who's been his partner, his husband, his materials, after he passes? Right. Most people are like, no, you know what I mean? Like, should you be able to see your spouse in the hospital? Should your family who hates you for being gay be able to take all your all your property away and not let your spouse come to your funeral.
But that's
that's what they want again.
But that's the insidiousness of propaganda. That's what
what pollsters should be asking. Don't ask if you believe in gay marriage, because first of all, I just don't care if you believe it or not. We're talking about rights.
But the Nazis were successful not just because they had great policies that everybody liked. They had propaganda that convinced people that this terrible point of view was good. They literally convinced people that A was Z. And we're seeing it here. We have a lot of people running around saying A is Z. And the rest of us with half a brain can see that's not true.
Yes, we destroyed Iran's nuclear capabilities. They'll never be able to get a bomb. 2 days later, they set them back a couple months.
Yeah. I mean, I think this chronic lying is obviously corrosive, and we're going to have to find a way to battle against that. And that's going to be a lot of citizen soldiers, and I don't mean that in a military way, but citizen soldiers that are going to hold these people accountable house to house to house to house to house. It's not going to be some great savior who's going to come and bail us out. We're going to bail ourselves out and resist and revolt, or whatever word you want to use, to reestablish the rule of the majority, because that's what democracy is, not this.
Yeah, and when you're talking about that propaganda, I'm actually I'm sourcing a couple of guests right now who are historians of journalism, because I want to bring them on and talk about yellow journalism and how we were in a period where newspapers were publishing lies. Nobody knows the Spanish-American War right now, but we went into it because the conservative Hearst, who owned a bunch of newspapers, basically lied and propagandized our way into that war. So as a country, we have been in a space where there has been propaganda and people living in completely different realities, which is what we are living in right now, are people that live in completely different reality from ours. And I'm trying to source some guests right now, so stay tuned to the Gaily Show for that, of ways, talking about learning from our history, we need to be learning ways of how we got out of these propaganda moments, how we came together as a country and said, no, we're actually going to go by facts again. But when you see Oklahoma schools, they're willfully doing it. And they've passed legislation in Oklahoma saying that students now need to be taught that Biden lost the 2020 election.
I think a lot of people are already doing what I would expect them to do. They're leaving states that are particularly heinous. They're taking their families out of there. They're saying, we cannot live here. We're going to sell our house.
But not everyone can do that.
We've heard the list of states. If you can, I think you're going to see quite an out-migration. And we're seeing the in-migration here in Minnesota, 10,000 since 2023, and probably another 10,000 this year. So we are gaining the benefits of people getting fed up with the falseness of the right-wing lie, and they're seeing it for what it is, and they're finally doing something about it.
Well, and that's where we're coming up on under a minute here for our broadcast. But I'm just going to be very curious, as we're seeing the vibe here of the joy of being in community, and definitely politics is at the front of center of the conversations we're having. I'm going to be curious to see what the fight is like next year, because we need fight. And I know there's a lot of queer people that want to see politicians who are fighting. They don't want to just say, hey, wait until the voting and then, we'll go from there. We need to see fighters. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in today to our special 2-hour broadcast. Coming up next is going to be the Illegal Trans Woman with Ellie Krug. I see her standing right there. Thank you for listening. You will be back here on Monday. Happy Pride, everyone.
Happy Pride.